Well, hello there. Today I'm going to talk about the rapture. Why? Because I can. Really, that's the main reason. Um, so there are about 4 points of view, mainly three, because the last two overlap each other. To be honest, they overlap. So here's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to have to do more homework, but there's 4 points of view. And I will reveal what I believe and why believe in what I believe in. So let's talk about pre-tribulation. That's the first one. The rapture. Okay, so you have rapture, tribulation, millennial reign, something like that. Yeah. And it's really only supported by maybe one, two verses. The problem is when Paul talks about it in Thessalonians about being caught up in it's all one continuous event. It's not like a pause and then something happens and then you're taking something in Thessalonians and trying to put it into Revelation. That's the first problem. And it really talks about the appointed seasons and stuff also in Thessalonians. So, and then the first in Revelation 3:10 that they use, Revelation 3:10, um, is talking to a specific church in Asia, one of the seven churches, and then people will be like, "Yep, that's our text for our rapture." And the problem is, why don't you use the church that's lukewarm that gets spit out of the mouth of God for your eschatology? So it's kind of not. That's not a good argument. Okay, I need more verses than something in Thessalonians that doesn't have a timeline. And what Paul wrote in Thessalonians was assurance, saying, "Yeah, you're going to be meeting the people who have already went before you again to kind of make them not mourn as long." And then you have, so yeah, and then the Greek, I study it. I don't have my phone with me because that's where all my notes are. But some Greek words mean like 10 English words, and then sometimes there's one English word that has 10 Greek words. Okay, so you can play around with it, and you can actually make it say, "I will guide you through the hour of tribulation," or you can say, "I will keep you from the hour of tribulation." Uh, the most translators use the word cap instead of guard, but the contents there is for protection, and the word from is like a fugitive running away from something. So I'm not going to go so heavy on that. The mid-tribulation rapture, whether it's the tribulation halfway through, we get raptured, and then the tribulation ends, and then the millennial. I thought that was the most loony of them all. And I wasn't really fond of it. And of course, I was never a fan of the Left Behind series. So now we'll get into the post-tribulation, where it's then the post-tribulation follows the fourth, which is no rapture. But what do we mean by rapture is what we have to get to. Because throughout all the parables of Jesus, when he gives us parable, he's on earth, not in heaven. That's pretty big on earth when these things happen. Like when he's like tells the servants in Matthew to, hey, you should be on the guard because I'm coming back. Well, he's coming back to his house, but he was on earth. He went back to heaven, and he's coming back to earth. So the second coming is all about him coming back, and anytime he tells any judgment, all the judgment comes here. And to be kind of blunt here, I am of the, let's say, Hebrewic roots, or I like to call them the pure roots movement point of view. So, and most of us are post to no tribulation, because it goes tribulation, rapture, but what is the rapture, and then the millennial reign, and then we're in heaven. So now so are we raptured up into heaven as he's coming back, or as he's coming down? So yeah. So really the details of why the rapture / no rapture, post tribulation rapture versus the no rapture kind of overlap in a lot of similarities. And having the idea of a no rapture is what we're going to be gathered in Israel, from the brook of Egypt to the Euphrates River, to the land of whatever found in Numbers. This dimension, I mean, Israel, as we know it now, is not the size of how Israel should be. It's a lot smaller. It's like a fifth of the size it should be, according to what is found in Numbers. So now I'm going to give why I believe in the post to no rapture point of view. It's kind of because, one, let's talk about marriage. The traditional idea of Christian marriage is you court, and when you have a courtship, you have mentors that tell you what you can and cannot do while you're courting to groom you for marriage. It's a gradual step into marriage. And you don't take the bride home, live with her, send her back to her parents, and then have the wedding feast and then go home. And then take her home. That's not how it works in the Christian worldview. You court, you promise to bring her home, but then you have the groom, one man, one woman. The man takes a woman, they get married, and then he takes the woman home. She doesn't go home to live with him before the marriage. And that's what happens. And even within the parables of marriage, the 10 virgins and all that, it's the same concept. So the biblical concept of marriage, if the rapture is anything like the marriage, we're going to get married on planet Earth. Jesus Christ, or Yeshua the Messiah, and the Kahal, or the congregations, I don't like the word church, will be married, and then after the millennial reign, or the millennial honeymoon, we will go home to heaven for the other side of eternity. I'm not going to go with how that works too much about what's in heaven. So, what are the other parables I'm talking about? Well, in Matthew 25, 14 through 30, and Luke 19, 12 and 27 talks about the talents, what happens. Jesus goes away, he comes back, he judges. Not too much. Sounds quite reasonable. And he's on earth while he's judging, so where is he kicking? Where's the weeping and gnashing of teeth? On earth. Because he's still on earth. He still hasn't done the millennial reign. And then we have the wheat and tares, which is found in Matthew 13, 24 through 30. Okay, which is kind of weird. But what happens here is he comes back and gathers all the wheat at once, and he judges. Well, he doesn't judge the physics and all that. Wheat being heavier than the tares being lighter. The wheat drops, the tares kind of flutter, get blown into the fire. So it's the idea that we all get judged at once. Okay, no, I am completely okay with that. But he's still on planet Earth when this happens. And then the sheep and goat, Matthew 25:31 through 46. What happens? He gathers everyone once again. It's one gathering. He says to goats, I never knew you. Go away because you were wicked. You didn't take care of me. You didn't feed me, clothe me, visit me in prison. And then the sheep, he says the same. He says, you did visit me and I'm taking you home. So that's where my eschatology really comes from. Outside of the appointed seasons, the appointed days of the 7 appointed days of Yahweh, which is Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits, Pentecost or Shavuot, Feast of Trumpets, Day of Atonement, and the Feast of Booth. So I do believe that he will come back on the Day of Atonement, or like the Day of Atonement. I mean the Feast of Trumpets, and he will judge the world on atonement. I'm not going to go into details because I believe there are 2 judgments: the judgment of your heaven or hell, and then the judgment of your position in heaven. Because I believe, and I'm willing to be wrong in this belief, that we will get, because I was prior Marine, that there will be something like a reward ceremony, like, okay, you're going to get a Purple Heart / the rank of captain or something. I may be completely wrong, and I'm willing to be wrong as long as I remember these things. 3 things I have to remember. I'll tell you them later. And I'm good with that, being wrong. And then we will have a millennial reign where we do the feast days through the eyes of the Messiah. Not the Old Testament way, but in a way through the mature value of the appointed days. So, I'm not going to call you a straight up heretic if you believe in anything outside of what I believe when it comes to the rapture. And as long as we do these 3 things, remember Jesus says, if you love me, you obey my commandments. And the 2 greatest commandments is love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, intellect, and so forth. And the other one is love your neighbor as yourself. Found in Matthew chapter 20, between 20 and 25. I can look that up. Good, I will actually look it up for you, because this is Galatians, Romans, Acts. Whoa, I don't want to go that fast. I still have Matthew chapter, so it's in here. It's okay, Matthew 22, 37, 40. And Yeshua said to them, you should love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your intellect. This is the first great commandment. The second is like it. You should love your neighbor as yourself. On these 2 commandments, all the Torah and prophet hang. And that is my hobby version. So, Shalom, Emmanuel, and I may talk about politics or religion next time I post something. See ya.